Being David Bolduc for the record. I'm here tonight to object to the By the People textbook, A History of the United States, AP edition, which is 955 pages long of content. Just jumping right into it since we have 10 minutes. If you look at how it's broken down by who was on the committee, on the right-hand column you have teacher or administrator, and on the left-hand column you have a community member. And on the right-hand column, on the all-important question, or I guess criteria, does the product demonstrate accuracy? There's 1 4,
Mr.
4 being the
Bolduc, hang
highest.
on just 1 second. Our computers up here went down. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want us to be able to follow along with you, if you would. Oh, there it comes. Okay, it's back up now. I apologize for that. Yeah. Make sure that we stop the clock.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Proceed, please.
Okay, thank you. Right-hand column is the teacher administrator. There's 1 4, which is the highest score of accuracy out of the 6 that are there. And on the left-hand side, the community member, all 3 scored 4, the highest. And so I feel the community members tipped the scale on selecting this particular textbook. And 2 of those on the community members are Theron Trimble and Bill Corson. And to give you a little flavor of how they view history, they are members of the Coalition for Quality Public Education. And they post on, and the Coalition for Quality Public Education posts articles about the dark rigidity of fundamentalist rural America, a view from the inside, where there's direct quotes from this article that state, quote, "Another problem with rural Christian white Americans is they are racist." I'm not talking about white, hood-wearing, cross-burning, lynching racists, though some are. I'm talking about people who deep down in their heart of hearts truly believe they are superior because they are white. Their white God made them in his image, and everyone else is less than perfect, vision, flawed, and cursed. And the reason I bring this up is we're going to see this recurring theme throughout the entire textbook. Jumping into that, how we'll see this theme into the entire textbook, I've highlighted Chapter 6, which is 1783 to 1788. It's the chapter on creating a new nation and the development of the United States Constitution. Here's a couple direct quotes from the chapter on the United States Constitution and how this author views what the Founding Fathers did to develop the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The revolutionary leaders, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, have become cardboard characters. Their words have been evoked too often. Also, those known as the Founding Fathers were far from the only actors. The 55 white men who gathered in what later became known as Independence Hall in Philadelphia in the spring of 1787 for the Constitutional Convention. I see no reason why we have to constantly refer to the Founding Fathers as 55 white men. In many ways, the Constitution reflected the needs and aspirations of its leaders. Quote, white men who were the elite of their society. So it's just pinning certain groups against other groups. When there's, you have students in class sitting there, there might be, a white student sitting next to a minority student, and they're reading this and they're saying, geez, the Founding Fathers, I heard that they were good people. It seems like, there's a problem with being white. Is it fair to describe the Constitution as ratified in 1788 as a pro-slavery document? That is pure conjecture on the author's part. Chapter 6 on the Constitution. The students never see or read the Article 1, Section 8, which are the 18 enumerated powers that Congress can do. But, however, it does make reference, and there are direct quotes to, quote, the final version of the Constitution contained a clause, Article 4, Section 2, that required states to extradite criminals, and a separate clause stated, the author goes on to say that this clause was all about slavery. So this author makes direct reference to the students to Article 4, Section 2, read all about slavery, yet there's zero reference to Article 1, Section 8, the limitations of federal government as defined in the 18 enumerated powers. The students don't even know Article 1, Section 8 exists. It's never mentioned. let alone the content of Article 1, Section 8, is never mentioned in this chapter. So, overall, how could students know the limitations of federal government when they graduate from Collier County schools when, as it's defined in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, when it's willfully omitted? They have no idea what it says. So when they graduate and they take an oath in office to defend the Constitution, they have no idea what's in there. Chapter 6, the textbook willfully omits the United States is a Republican form of government. Quote, the American experiment in creating an independent nation would be a democracy governed by the will of the majority, or at least a white male majority. Again, bringing in that somehow the white founding fathers were somehow bad, something of that nature, and then, but worst of all, stating that our new nation is a democracy governed by the will of the majority. What this author's doing is saying that mob rules, that the Constitution, the rights enshrined in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights do not exist. If the will of the majority decides that the rights of the Bill of Rights or the rights in the Constitution, if they decide they no longer exist, they no longer exist. That is a horrible, horrible way to teach our children on how our nation was founded and how it's currently governed. Quite frankly, this is cultural Marxist education. Cultural Marxism, through critical theory, is to criticize everything about the Western culture, everything about the United States. So it's to criticize the Constitution, to criticize the Bill of Rights, to criticize the Founding Fathers, you name it. So if you were to look up the definition of cultural Marxist critical theory, it would do exactly what's going on here in this textbook. And a board member stated in an article the other day in the Naples Daily News that, it's kind of splitting hairs when you're talking about the difference between a democracy and a constitutional republic. Well, that's not what the Founding Fathers thought. They thought it was a vastly important topic. In fact, to quote James Madison, democracy is the most vile form of government. To quote George Washington, republicanism is not the phantom of a deluded imagination. On the contrary, laws under no form of government are better supported, liberty and property better secured. And then perhaps Thomas Jefferson states it best, where he said, democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. And I'll go back in this chapter about how our government was formed, what it is. It says an American experiment in creating an independent nation would be a democracy governed by the will of the majority. That is 100% inaccurate. And if we're sending out our students after graduation thinking that, hey, whatever majority is in place, that's the rights that, I guess that government deems upon me, rather than the rights that are God-given as defined in the Declaration of Independence, rights that are specifically outlined in the Bill of Rights. Again, the Bill of Rights, the students don't even see. So I have a number of problems with, in fact, I'll go to the Bill of Rights. This is the entire section of the Bill of Rights that the students will see. So the first bullet point, it is Article 1. Or Amendment 1, excuse me. So the author does do a good job and I guess describes it accurately to the word what the First Amendment is. But Amendments 2 through 9 are summarized as follows. Quote, the other amendments included the right of the people to keep and bear arms, freedom from being required to house soldiers in private homes, the right to be secured in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizures, the right to trial by jury, and the right to a speedy trial and limitations on excessive bail. That's it. Articles or Amendments 2 through 9, right there. That's it. That's the only time they see anything to do with the Bill of Rights, whether it to be, keep and bear arms, why they have that right, how it shall not be infringed. That's not here. And then when it gets to the 10th Amendment, it says, finally, the 10th Amendment, perhaps most important to anti-federalists, especially those who worried about federal intervention in the institution of slavery. So not only is the 10th Amendment designed to hold the government in check to Article 1, Section 8, which this author never shows the students what is in Article 1, Section 8, he says that the 10th Amendment is there to basically to enshrine the institution of slavery. I mean, I couldn't think of a worse way you could outline the Bill of Rights so our children, when they graduate from Collier County schools and want to go out and be productive citizens, and if they take, let's say they're lucky enough to take an oath of office later in life, they'll know exactly what they're taking that oath for. I see my time's up. Thank you.